Right.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Rick Jansen in Denver, Colorado,
Lee Jennings in Seattle, Washington.
and we are experienced real estate agents, certified coaches, and we are here today, oddly enough, to give you free content. Can you imagine that?
Shocking, right?
Yeah. So Lee, why people say like this? We're kicking off what we're calling the freedom system because too often people couple time and money. Right. When I was an attorney back in like early 2000s. I traded time for money. Every 6 minutes of my day was billable, right? But then if I wanted to get a cup of coffee, I couldn't bill that. So my cup of coffee really cost me like $45 every time I went to the counter. And I got into real estate to decouple time and money, but you still have a certain dependence, right? There's this weight of if I'm not producing, if I'm not cranking all the time, I'm not making money. And we're here to introduce you to systems that are going to help you free up time and money because what good's money if you don't have time to enjoy it, right, Lee?
Exactly. Well, and you touched on it, and our friend Tim always talks about the 900-pound gorilla, and that is the need to earn money. That is he's always talking about that, and yeah, I mean, a lot of agents in this business, their lives are just transactional. They'll always be trading time for money.
Always trading time for money. So we're gonna introduce you a lot of things on the show every Monday, every Thursday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 Mountain, 10 Central, and what time in Eastern? 11. We are going to be going live. Why? Because we want to give back. We want to help you with real estate production, nuts and bolts, brass tacks, tactical, practical, all the stuff, not fluff, right? You're not going to get on here and get a 40-minute webinar presentation that has 5 minutes of content and tries to sell you on coaching. We're actually going to be here teaching you what is working right now, January 10th, 2022, as we kick this off, to get into action, to get into production, to get you making money this week, right? Because if you don't get a new client this week, you're never going to tune in again.
Yeah, and I mean, this is 2022 is going to be a huge year. I know it'll be a huge year for you, Rick, and it will be also in my business. And I really want to, I talk to like agents all the time, and I want to share that with them and hopefully help set them on the path.
Right. So who are we? Just a little bit of a background. I do have a sales and marketing background. I've owned a number of businesses. I have a law degree, an MBA in marketing. I owned a indie brokerage for like 16 years. Then I joined another brokerage, and I've got, I'm top 10% in Denver by volume every year. Award winner, a 5-star award winner, Denver Business Journal, Forbes, HGTV, all that nonsense, right? Also a Harris certified coach. And I say it's nonsense because it doesn't really matter to you unless we can actually teach you what we're doing to make money.
Exactly. Well, my name is Lee Jennings. I'm with eXp Realty in Seattle, Washington, and I've been in the business. I've been licensed since 2005. After I got licensed, I kind of fell into the world or realm of property management for like 12 or 13 years. At one point, I was managing over 1,200 doors in 2 different markets. Pivoted away from that like 3 years ago, and been a top producer in my market now for the last couple of years, and really have been on the journey of figuring out what it takes to be a top listing agent in my market. And having one of the best months of my career this month. So just excited to share, what I know.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit because Lee, when you hear Lee's been licensed since 2005, but he's been a real estate agent for 3 years. Lee's selling anywhere from like 3 to 4 million a month, right? In a hyper competitive market, Seattle. I'm selling in Denver, hyper competitive market. We have over 28,000 agents serving our community, and there aren't that many deals to go around, right? And some people are getting multiple bites at the apple. They're selling 50, 100 homes a month with their teams, which means there are a lot of agents not making any money, Lee. So if we're to talk to, right out of the gate, let's just get this show rolling. Let's introduce the freedom system. Right out of the gate, like what are people needing to do this week to get a paycheck?
People really need to get into action. And I talk to agents all the time about getting into action. Don't get ready to get ready. Actually get into action, overcome the fear. And whatever your business model is, whatever your platform is, whatever you are trying to do, whether it's outbound prospecting like I do, or, there's many, many different ways, lead pillars, ways to get business in this industry. But there's also, as we all know, there's a lot of fear surrounding that and actually doing that. And we have to overcome that fear.
Well, and you touched on that. You have to have multiple spokes, right? If your wheel is going down the road, if you're on a bicycle, right? If you have only 4 spokes, you're pretty shaky, right? One spoke, your wheel's not going to work at all, right? One spoke, one source of business. Usually people start off with sphere of influence, right? And their mom, their brother, their cousin, their uncle, their Aunt Betty, whatever is going to sell a home. And they get a real estate license and they go through their sphere of influence the first year, right? And they sell 2 or 3 deals. They make about 18 grand and they're like, maybe I can make a living doing real estate. I'm going to quit my job. But sphere of influence without a system in place, without follow-up, without adding value, without positioning yourself as an expert, sphere of influence is never going to pay your bills.
Well, and that can be fraught with peril as well. I always laugh when I think about how many people I've done business with over the last 2 years who I didn't know, prior to contacting them, and then I've ended up falling into a couple deals with friends or family or whatever it is. Inevitably, those transactions are the most difficult. And I can close one deal with a friend, and really with the time that I used on that one deal, I could have found 5 or 6 other deals.
Well, is that because you're having to set up, to use a bowling analogy, are you having to set up the bumpers on the lanes?
Oh,
because
completely.
The friend wants to go out for beer, the friend wants to go out for dinner, the friend's going to chew your arm off, or chew your ear off, right? Just la 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 la.
And it's the old adage, 10% of the clients are 90% of the problems. I mean, there aren't any boundaries oftentimes in those relationships, and it's a huge time suck, and it doesn't really fit into what I'm trying to do. Most of the agents that I talk to out there in the marketplace these days are trying to do business with people they don't know. Because obviously I know probably 200 people in this world. There are 300 and however many million people in this country. I would rather know how to go out and create business out of nothing. And that's what I know how to do now.
And you know how to do it very, very well. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a little bit, because some people say like, hey, in your sphere of influence, and there are whole coaching programs built up around sphere of influence. And I do a lot of business with my sphere. They say, hey, if you know 200 people, 10% of those people are going to move every year, right? So out of 200 people, 20 are going to actually move this year. If you can capture 4 of those, that's more than the average real estate agent makes every year.
Right,
and
which is
the average over the course of NAR average, like the average realtor is doing like 4 deals.
Right, which is, there's no reason not to try to capture that business, but I think that there are other ways that you can, grow your business much, much faster than, trying to rely on, those couple of deals per year.
Right. And so we're not going to poo-poo that, folks. We're not saying don't contact your sphere. Your sphere is your base, right? Your sphere is important because your sphere knows you, likes you, trusts you. And if you can position yourself away from being the friendly guy, the nice Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Nice Gal, whatever, right? You have to position yourself as the friendly expert, a professional who's friendly, right? There's a shift that has to happen, especially for new agents. Right. And you're going to say, well, how can I be professional? How can I be an expert if I've never done real estate before? I just got my license and I'm trying to position myself as an expert with my friends. Others of your friends, you might say, hey, look, I've been a real estate agent for 5 years. Why don't you know me, like me, trust me as an agent yet? It's because you're still posting pictures of yourself, going out wild and crazy every night. And you're not positioning yourself as a real estate expert in your social media, in your TikTok, in your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever your friends are seeing you, they're not seeing you as a professional.
Right. And I think that's a big misconception that people have, that, when you get your license, that all of a sudden all your friends are going to know that you're the real estate expert for them. I mean, it's so not the case. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. You have to stay top of mind, even with people who know you really, really well, probably more so with those people.
Right. So action steps. So if you want to talk to your sphere of influence, and this is January 2022, you might say, well, I don't have a sphere of influence. Well, on your body, you do have a smartphone, right? On your body, what you're watching on right now is either a smartphone or a laptop. You have LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have a phone contact list. You can enter this phone contact list right now and just start calling A to Z. Who do I call? Call the first person on your phone, right? call them up and say, hey, look, happy 2021. It's been really nice catching, I want to catch up with you. COVID's kind of crazy, right? You have a nice Christmas. Hey, can I cut to brass tacks for a second? I need to have a professional conversation with you. Do you have 10 minutes? Great. I really want to, just kind of let you know, I've got really big goals for my real estate business in 2022. And one of the things I'd like to do is try out some new software, and maybe new to you, may not be new to you, right? But maybe it's new to them. So say, hey, I'd like to try out some new software that really provides accurate home values. Do you own your home right now? Lee, let's role play. Lee,
Cool.
do you own your home right now?
I do.
Okay. What I'd like, are you curious as to how the value of that is impacted by the sales around you? We're constantly hearing about crazy real estate market, right?
Yeah, and I really, to be honest, I don't really have a good handle on it lately. I mean, things obviously in the world are so crazy, it's just hard to keep track of.
Right, with inflation and everything else and COVID. So what I'd like to do, I found this really cool new software that just once a month will email you what I found, and I think is the most accurate home valuation out there on the market. It crushes Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, all the valuations out there that you find. What I'd like to do is just kind of email you a monthly valuation of your home, right? And every once in a while, just tell me, like, if you think it's accurate. Would you do that for me to help my business?
Oh, sure. Happy to do that.
Awesome. So, and then you open up a spreadsheet, you take down a pencil and paper, folks. Come on, go old school. Write down Lee's name, phone number, get the best email to send that to, or it won't go to spam, won't go to work. Make sure the phone number you have for them is a cell phone number. Get down the address, right? And put it into a system like Cloud CMA or Homebot.ai or something, right? There are a lot of softwares out there, and we're not making money off of selling you on this, but they're cheap monthly subscriptions. A lender will probably subsidize half. Call us privately if you want to know how to get a lender to pay for that, and within RESPA guidelines. But now, and then you close the conversation, say, hey, great, I really appreciate you helping me with your business. By the way, Lee, before I let you go, and I do want to catch up with you on a personal level, and would love to see you face to face when COVID permits. But Lee, on a personal level, who do you know that might be, getting pregnant, getting married, getting divorced, getting promoted, moving to the state, moving out of state, needs a bigger yard because they just got a dog over Christmas? Who first comes to mind?
I mean, I have a couple folks who are kind of going through some of those changes right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those are really key triggers for people wanting to move.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could kind of keep your mind open for me to some of those things. And right now, like, when you say who first comes to mind and then pause people, Lee's going to start searching for those things. He doesn't know who wants to move, but he does know who's talking about getting married, getting pregnant, having a baby, wanting to move for better elementary schools, is about to downsize because their kids graduating high school and now they're going to be empty nesters in May, right? So he does know a few of those things. Those are all major triggers for moves. So close with an open-ended question. Who first comes to mind? And then ask him for permission. Hey, do you want to call him right now? Or could I call him? Do you think that you'd mind if I dropped your name and called him after we get off the phone? Right. I won't mention they're getting divorced or anything like that. I mean, I'm just going to call and just say it's a nice introduction from my friend Lee, and any friend of Lee's is a friend of mine. And you get a lead from that. But you're not saying, my business is built on referrals, and, who do you know who wants to buy or sell a home, and your greatest compliment is the greatest referral? But none of that crap, right, people? Like, let's focus on triggers for moving. When you hear people, building algorithms for most likely to move, they're pulling public data for this information anyway. Who has been Google searching for movers? Who has been Google searching divorce records? Who's been Google searching all these? Who filed for bankruptcy? Who had a foreclosure filing? All those things, right? So you're bringing AI back to personal intelligence, which is yourself, something you can control, and asking Lee who he knows might be ready to move based off of a real thing, which is triggers for moving. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's exactly it. And I think really at the end of the day, as we both know, Rick, I mean, people just aren't doing this. That's
Wait, what?
Really, yeah. People aren't doing it. No, I mean, I often say, to the folks who I coach that, what is lacking is not knowledge. What is lacking is motivation. And particularly this time of year, I mean, January 2022, these are the types of calls that you need to be making. It's critical. It's absolutely critical. Set yourself up for the latter part of this year. I mean, 2022 really in our world began like 4 months ago, but these are the calls that you need to be making right now. reinvigorating your sphere, getting yourself, top of mind with these people who are important to you, or you say they are, which if they're important to you, that means you might want to reach out to them, even if it's just in a friendly way, not, real estate related. But, most of the folks who I know in this business, especially those who are really kind of learning the business, they're just not doing this yet. So it's time to make the jump.
Yeah, it is time to make the jump. And so when you put someone on a home valuation report like that, we're going back to positioning yourself as a professional, right? Now, once a month, whether you're doing it or not, whether you're thinking about them or not, they are getting a professional valuation in their email of their home, right? Now, your name is connected to real estate in their mind.
Well, and it's a marker for a future call every time now. So like when you call them again in March or you call them again in May and you're checking in, you can check with them, see if they're enjoying the data, what they think about it. Would it make sense to maybe look at making a change right now, just given what they're learning from that? So it's a great, it's a connection point.
And when you talk about being 4 months, 2022 starting 4 months ago, you're absolutely right. I have clients right now, about $1.5 million lead, right? I first was put in touch with them back in like early November, probably October. And they're like, we want to move in June, right? But they were already planning who their realtor was going to be.
Well, and the reality is if they tell you that they want to move in June, they may want to move in March.
And they may want to move in March. Now, in this particular situation, they're building a home, so they knew their exit date, right? Mm-hmm. They're building a brand new home. The builder says, hey, this is when it's going to be due. But if you're not building a new home, absolutely, they'd move next week.
Well, and what I've found, especially during COVID-19 pandemic times, is that their pace is really frenetic right now. Changes can happen more quickly than they're even letting on, and that's what's driven some of the market growth that we've seen.
Absolutely. So the key, though, on something like that is getting in front of them right away, not listening to their mindset, which is, I am awash with ignorance and fear and lack of knowledge. And I don't know the market. I don't know the moving pieces, the mortgage, the home sale, my home value, how to stage, how to market a home. I don't know any of that. So because I don't know any of that as a homeowner, I'm going to say, I'm not ready to do this for 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. You come in as the expert. You get in there right away, right? Oh, that's great, Lee. That's great. I'm glad you're not going to move for another 3 to 6 months because I want you to make an educated, knowledgeable decision. And I'm going to be here as your tour guide to all the way through that process. But can we do something right now? I'd love to meet you this week, right? Because I'd love to start getting you educated on the home process. I'd love to start getting you educated on home values, not only in your neighborhood, but also get a feel for the market out there. Because one of the scariest things is when I bring someone out on their first home tour and the first home we go into is their dream home, but they have no frame of reference.
Yeah. And that's, right? And that's the buyer consult. I think a lot of agents, I'm in a hyper competitive market. A lot of agents in my market don't even do a buyer consult. They won't even try, they won't try to get that appointment because that person's not ready to move right now, or that's what they're being told. So they won't even try and sit down with them, which is crazy to me. Yeah. If you have someone who you're trying to nurture who obviously needs help now, it's October and they're thinking about moving in June, you need to get in front of them and position yourself as the expert, not to mention that you want to show them that you care about what they're actually trying to accomplish. It seems, to me, it's obvious, but it's not obvious to a lot of people, and they don't want to spend time on people who aren't moving this month, which is mind blowing to me. But it's you have to make it a priority in your business. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned outbound prospecting, right? So we were talking about Sphere for a little bit, and we're going to do whole shows dedicated to just Sphere, right? Positioning yourself as a professional, getting the monthly reports out there. What else you do on social media, what else you do personally to position yourself as a professional in front of your Sphere. But Sphere can be, it's going to be trying to find the low-hanging fruit for March and April, right? Who in your Sphere is going to be taking advantage of that traditional spring rush? But Lee, you are the master of outbound prospecting. Just an enviable income in terms of our real estate industry. I'm not going to embarrass you with that. But like when you look at outbound prospecting, what can someone do this week, today on Monday,
to set appointments. You go on 20 home appointments a month.
People, I mean, people make this so complicated. They make it so complicated, and it is so very simple. I can't, I mean, I say this all the time, but if you have data, if you have the ability to talk to people who have, homes in your market, you have the ability to prospect them. And typically I'm looking for people who are raising their hand wanting to sell, whether it be an expired lead or a first sale by owner lead or what have you. You talk to them and you simply try to go preview their home. I typically preview anywhere from 20 to 25 properties a week. And to be honest with you, I don't even have to do that much. I mean, I'm at the point now in my business. I mean, it's funny. One of my mentors or someone who I follow, Brian Culhane, he says, your words are your magic wand. And, I've gotten to the point in my business where I can pick up the phone and generate business almost immediately. Because I'm decent on the phone and I've been doing this a while, and I trust my skills. I have confidence. I can set previews, and I can create something out of air. I mean, literally, like, just out of nothing. And I have colleagues right now who are like, how are you doing that? You've never met any of those people. I'm selling properties now in parts of town that I haven't really done a lot of business in. I'm literally going kind of behind enemy lines and taking listings and selling them at really quickly. I mean, almost overnight. And that is a power that you have as an agent. You just have to harness it. And people make it so much more complicated than it really is. If you go on one preview appointment with a seller every business day in 2022, you will go on 240 previews this year. If you go on 240 previews this year with people who are already raising their hand, wanting to sell, how many listings will you take?
So Lee, I hear you, man. I'm in the audience right now. I hear you. Where do I get data? Okay, so data you can get from a number of different sources like RedX and LandVoice and Vulcan 7 and all those other places, right? There are others as well.
Sure.
So now I have access to data. But Lee, there aren't any FSBOs in my market. There aren't any expireds in my market. Everybody else is already calling them. There are systems and teams that I don't have follows up. I don't have drips. I don't have a CRM. Excuse. I can throw out 20 excuses at you right now.
Right. And that is creative avoidance. I mean, what you're saying to me is creative avoidance. That's why people don't want to call, and that's why people don't call. That's why people don't take the chance of calling and having an adverse response or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, creative avoidance is a very broad category, and that is all what that is. And
it's very expensive.
It is. I mean, I made $475 an hour in 2020. So I don't know. I mean, that's pretty expensive. 20 minutes that I sit there wondering about whether I should call is $150. So
we go back to that attorney thing, right? Every 6 minutes of your day is worth money. It actually is. If you're valuing yourself as a realtor, if you're valuing yourself as a real estate agent, your time is money. Now, Lee, I'm going to put you on the spot. I own a home at 123 Main Street. It just expired. It's $500,000, a little bit below the average. Well, let's go with $700,000. Let's go with about the average in our market. You call me up. Where'd you get the number, and what do you say?
So I got the number from a data provider who I use that I'm happy to share. And I simply call you up. I'm like, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, is this Rick?
This is
Rick. This is Lee Jennings with eXp Realty. I was calling on your property on 123 Main Street. I was just curious. Are you at this point? Are you still open to an offer on that property?
Well, I don't know, Lee. We were on the market for about 2 months, and my realtor didn't really get it done, and everybody just said we were overpriced. So I'm kind of discouraged.
I was really shocked that it didn't move. Do you have an idea of what happened?
No, I mean, like I said, everybody just came through, said we were overpriced, and it's just kind of a pain right now with COVID. Everybody, in my house, I don't know. I think we probably should just wait till summer when the market picks up a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I was just going to see, I'm actually going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow afternoon between like 2 and 4. And I was just going to see, would it be okay if I just popped by for maybe 15 minutes and just took a quick look at it?
Well, you can see it in the pictures on Zillow, can't you?
I can, but I really I like to walk anything that I'm gonna recommend to somebody and just get a better idea of it. So if it would be okay, could I just pop by real quick for it? It really won't take any more than about 10 minutes.
Well, Lee, I mean, do you have a buyer right now?
I have a lot of folks who are looking in your part of town, and honestly, it's an extremely low inventory market. I'm having trouble finding things for people, and so that's really the impetus for this. I just love to just take a quick look at it.
So I invite you in 123 Main Street. You come in for a preview. Hey, Lee, knock knock. Hello, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for letting me do this. What I'd like to do is just get an idea of your property, and I would obviously walk it with you. Just get an idea of all the features. Without question, every single time that I do this, even though they want to point you to the photos, they want to point you to the online description or the Zillow ad, which is usually atrocious anyway, but they want to point you to that. And when I walk the property, 99.9% of the time, there are things that are not captured in the marketing, whether it was a previous agent or if it's the owner trying to sell it themselves. They are not capturing something that is absolutely critical, and the property was probably not marketed correctly, or the features aren't being advertised as they are. There's some compelling feature that is not being showcased, and I walk the property, and it's typically speaking, I would say about 80% of my previews like this are massive opportunities. I see the opportunity right away. I see how it wasn't marketed properly. I see how now that this has happened and the seller is trying to find a solution and really honestly wants to get the home sold, but is lacking confidence because of what happened, and I have to build them back up, obviously. But I walk the property with them. I get an idea of the features. I talk about them, their goals. I do family, occupation, recreation, dreams, which a lot of us use Ford. I'm trying to get to know them. I would say about 60 to 70% of my preview appointments at the end of that 10 or 15 minutes, which doesn't seem very long, but if you actually talk to somebody for that amount of time, you're going to get to know them a little bit. That seller is typically asking me, okay, what would you have done differently? What should we have done differently? That is a listing opportunity right there. This preview appointment just went, hello, ding, ding, ding. The preview appointment just went from a preview appointment to a listing appointment. The energy changes. They say, sit down, have a seat at our kitchen table. Talk us through how you would have done it. And at that point, I'm trying to get the business. And if I go on 20 previews a month and I take 3 to 4 listings per month, well, everyone's like, how are you doing that? This is how I'm doing it. Yeah. And if they won't, if I can't list it then, which is oftentimes the case, they're going in my follow-up and I'm texting them and calling them and video texting them and all kinds of things from that point on. And if I create enough of these short-term nurtures, I'm going to close deals. I have four transactions closing in the next 2 weeks, and all of them happen based on a meeting just like we're talking about right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And folks, like we told you we're going to give you action stuff, right? These are the words Lee is saying to get in the door. And the creative avoidance, I can come up with 45 more.
I'm sure you can.
Right? I mean, it's
everybody can.
Since 2002. Everybody can find a reason not to work, right? Oh my gosh, my back's hurting today. My voice.
One of my favorite coaches, who I think is an EXP agent now, I think, Haas Pratt. He was kind of my first coach when I got back into the business, say a couple of years ago. It's just like running, and I'm a big runner. Prospecting is just like running. When you wake up in the morning, there are a million reasons to not go running. I look outside, it's dark. Oh, I see a cloud. Is it going to rain? My shoes don't feel right. My back hurts. My back itches. My legs are sore. I don't feel like I drank enough water. My pace won't be right. I'm concerned about the traffic. What if I go the wrong, there's a million reasons not to run. There's a million reasons not to prospect, and agents come up with new ones every single day. It never ceases to amaze me when I talk to somebody about what they're doing in their daily activities. and they're coming up, they're sitting there thinking about new reasons why they shouldn't call. And one of my favorites is there's no FSBOs in my market. That's one of my favorites because it's garbage. There are FSBOs in every market. I mean, major markets, it's probably easier. There are probably more, I mean, big markets, but there are FSBOs in every market. Part of it may be that you need to cast your net wider. Part of it may be that your data, you need different data, or, there are resources that you're not taking advantage of. But there are a million reasons not to call. And I can tell you that if you're not calling, you're cheating the market. You're selling yourself short. People need your help.
And if you believe in yourself, if you do have skills, right, and if you are a professional, and if you want to be a professional, then you are cheating the market, right? Somebody tried to sell their home, and it was overpriced, poorly photographed, poorly marketed, poorly distributed, poorly positioned, and they didn't sell their home. Their dreams are on hold because somebody else didn't get the job done. Right. And if you have the skill to sell that house and make their dreams come true, then it's a little bit selfish of you not to put yourself out there and offer that to them.
I had a closing just this past Friday for sell by owner. Price point was like in the mid 700s. They moved away. They moved out of the area. The house had, just sat there dormant. It was just sitting there. It was just like this, this asset just sitting there. No furniture inside. I mean, it's beautifully finished, but there's just nothing inside. It's dark and it's just sitting there. And I called them, and for whatever reason, they hadn't done anything about it. And I called them. I took the listing. I got pro photos. I staged it. Looked beautiful. Got it under contract 2 different times. We had 1 fallout contract. Got it closed. And I think about, they, just like you're saying, they had put their financial things on hold because they didn't have a solution. They didn't have someone that was going to take them by the hand and lead them and pull them forward through the process.
And I had a client recently. We just sold at 1.11, right? And they were originally on the market at 1.3. Now, realistically, their home was worth about 115. And I wish I had the first crack at that apple, right? Mm-hmm. And when I met them, they're like, we'll never sell below 1.2 million, 1.25, something like that, right? They weren't willing to sell for less. They were the ones that always approached me about the price drop. And there's a whole price drop conversation you need to have in the listing appointment and set expectations and set a timeline and all that stuff. But they were every single minute of the day when I'd call them, or every single minute of every phone call, right? They'd be like, we're not going to price drop. We're not going to price drop, until they actually got the phone call that, hey, here's the offer on the table that we can negotiate to, and it'll make your dreams come true, and you can go move to the state you want to move to. Then they were willing to do it, right? So nobody wants to drop the price and see reality of the market until they actually have an offer on the table. Mm-hmm. And most homes are not selling because they're overpriced or poorly marketed, one of the two. Right. So, a beat up pickup is worth what a beat up pickup is worth, and a brand new Ford Bronco is worth that. So you have to know what you're selling, and you have to get the seller's mind around the price that their home is realistically worth. So you can't, what you can promise someone every single time, and we'll wrap up because we're going to do this every Monday, every Thursday at 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern. And what you can promise somebody every single time is, folks, I'm going to sell your house for the maximum a buyer's willing to pay in this market.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what your example there, Rick, of the pricing strategy and that conversation and the objection that the seller's having. I'm not going to drop the price, and I need to see an actual offer. It reminds me so much of the contacts, the prospecting calls I'm making. And, probably the single most common objection that I get: do you have a buyer? Do you have a buyer that's, ready, willing, and able to purchase my home? And, my answer to that is I have hundreds of buyers who I'm currently looking for, which is true because I'm out there in the marketplace every day. I'm, with as much as I'm previewing and listing properties, I have a lot of buyers who are looking for, different areas, in my market. But at the end of the day, that objection and what you're saying, like on this price drop thing, it's kind of similar in the sense that that particular seller just doesn't believe that they can get the home, that you can help them sell the property at that price point. And really they're slowing down their dreams and not reaching their goals because of that. And you have to show them that. And that is something that's, especially newer agents, they don't have a grasp on that. They are taking that objection at face value, and they're letting it slow them down. And frankly, like I've gotten that objection, and I've gone over to a property, walked the property, and listed the property either that day or 48 hours later. And it was that exact conversation. The same thing is true for price reductions. I mean, I've taken a listing and gotten an offer and gotten them to reduce the price before we got the offer, in the same vein, because I know what they want. I know what they're trying to accomplish, and I can show them the roadmap on how to get there. But you have to have the confidence to do that. And a lot of people don't.
Well, we talked about motivation to wake up in the morning and go run, wake up and prospect. The motivation is your why, right? And if you don't have a why that makes you cry, your why is probably not big enough.
Yep.
And you have to also connect with what the seller's why is. Why are they selling their home?
Exactly.
Right? What is the dream? And constantly coming back to you like, oh, so you're going to move to Montana and go fly fish. Tell me a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. And our friend,
do you go in big rivers, small rivers? Do you hide behind a rock, or do you float? How do you fly fish? Right?
Our friend Tim
is in my life.
Yeah, I mean, our friend Tim is constantly talking about this. If you don't qualify the seller, if you don't understand why they're selling, then you really aren't doing your job, and you don't deserve to take the listing.
Are you qualifying the seller before you go on the appointment?
No, only at the preview. And at the preview, I'm qualifying the heck out of them. I am taking mental notes at that preview of everything they are telling me. And they're going to tell me that, I mean, I'm literally doing forensics on them at that preview. I mean, I sit there, I can read their mind. I know like different objections I'm getting, that I'm going to wait and, and this and that, all these objections I am getting, I'm almost like profiling them. I mean, it's crazy. And I know exactly what they're going to do. The interesting thing is I know what they're about to do, whether it's with me as their agent or someone else. I know exactly what's going to happen. And I've seen this play out over and over and over again. So, I mean, I want to get in front of them as soon as I possibly can. And then once I'm in front of them, I want to be in front of them for as long as I can be. Now, sometimes people, kick me out after 15 minutes. Not very often, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, folks, and you could say, well, I'm not as successful as Lee because I'm not as handsome or I'm not as smooth spoken. But here's the thing, right? You can text me at 303-589-2320. You can text Lee at 206-419-8303. I am up in age where I had to use my glasses to do that. You can text us right away. You can ask, hey, what do you use for your information source? Can you walk me through some of these scripts? We're going to be going deep dive on all of these topics in the Freedom System. We're going to be telling you how to read minds, how to do forensics, how to do objection handlers, how to go deep dive on different spokes, different value propositions. And our program here at the Freedom System is free, right?
Well, and if you text me, I can tell you, like, if you text me personally, like if you're an agent out there who's just looking to work in this industry, I'll help you. I mean, I'll send you my whole system. I have no problem doing that because my number one goal, as I often say to people, it's Tim's number one goal. It's to be of service to agents.
Yeah. So there it is, folks. The Freedom System is going to teach you how to be free, how to decouple time from money. We're going to get into that on later shows. But right now, it's January 10th, 2022, and we want to help you figure out how to get January to be your most profitable month in the history of your real estate production, because we're all about helping people produce. And if you didn't take away a couple of golden nuggets from what Lee was talking about today, I tell you, you weren't listening. You got to go back and rewatch this show because I was taking notes, mental notes. I'm going to put into action some of the stuff Lee was talking about. I'm going to put into action some of the stuff I was talking about, right? Like, what am I going to Why am I not calling 10 of my sphere today, right? And putting them on a HomeBot or a cloud CMA or something, or an RRPR, like report. There are so many different resources out there.
Actions over results.
Why isn't everybody on my phone receiving a home valuation from me once a month, right? There's no reason. And
exactly.
I can hop on the Red X, pick up the phone, start calling expires. Now, some of the numbers are bad, some of them are good, some of the people are cranky, whatever. It's the wrong time of day. I need another cup of coffee. All of those things, right? Move past that.
Mm-hmm.
Move past that and realize Lee said he has 4 closings in the next 2 weeks. His last closing was mid 700s. Anybody can do 3% of that if you're a real estate agent. Now, picture another 4 of those this month and figure out if that's the kind of income you want to make this year. Because Lee's a 3rd-year agent. He's brand new to his market. He's been in Seattle about a year and a half, right? There is no in a hyper-competitive market. So whether you're in a hyper-competitive market like Denver or Seattle, and you say, it won't work for me here, or you're in a small town, or if you're in a midtown, whatever it is, the stuff we're talking about is the stuff we've paid cumulatively over $100,000 in private coaching. This is the stuff that we have learned. This is the stuff that we have honed. This is the stuff that we still pay to learn. We're still both coached. So like there's it's crazy, but we still need accountability, motivation, and wise and fine tuning and training and tweaking and tuning. Everybody does. And so put your ego aside, put your excuses aside. Let's get into action today and join us on a call. Invite some friends for Thursday's call at 8 a.m. Pacific, because we'd love to see more people on here. I apologize, this broadcast couldn't go live today for a Facebook technical issue, but we will post it, and the recording, we'll get it out to people who wanted to watch it.
If you get into action, lightning will strike.
There you go.
It comes down to.
Well, Lee, these calls are, I don't know about anybody else, but these calls are going to be the best part of my production week, or the best part of my real estate week, every week. So let's go get into action. Folks, we'll see you later. Thanks for joining us today. And let your friends know, go to thefreedomsystem.live to pop over to our Facebook group. We'll redirect it to that group, thefreedomsystem.live, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks, guys.